In the Future of Flight resource, you'll find this environment booklet, which contains a series of activities looking at climate change. It starts off with an introduction to climate change as a whole and a wonderful case study about engineer Michelle, who's a chemical engineer at Rolls-Royce. The first activity is called What's the Damage? And this is an activity for students to explore the historical context of global temperatures, the predicted future temperatures, and the effects that cause them. The next activity is called What are greenhouse gases? Where students will use their knowledge of elements and compounds to match images of molecules to their appropriate description of the greenhouse gas. The next activity is called Modelling the Greenhouse Effect. This is a practical activity you can do with things that you can find around the home. So I've got 2 beakers filled with vinegar here, and I've got some bicarbonate of soda. I'm going to add a small amount of bicarbonate of soda to this vinegar, and it's going to undergo a chemical reaction. And this is going to release carbon dioxide. We're going to add a thermometer to both, small stir, and then I'm going to insulate the top of these. I've got a bit of bubble wrap, but you could use cling film or anything you can find around the house. Both of these beakers are going to be placed into a brightly lit room, or maybe the airing cupboard or somewhere warm in the classroom, just to give them time to get to equal temperature. I reckon about 30 minutes. Once they're at equal temperature, we're going to take measurements of the temperature from the thermometers. We'll do that for about 20 minutes to see the rate of cooling. This is a chance to investigate the effect that this trapped carbon dioxide is going to have on how quickly the liquid cools. There's an opportunity to repeat this same experiment with hot water, cold water, and using soil samples to investigate the effect it has on the Earth itself, as opposed to simply the atmosphere. The next activity is called Lifecycle of an Aircraft. This is an activity where students look at the life cycle of a product, going between the design stage, the manufacturing stage, but most importantly, thinking about what we do at the end of the product cycle to deal with the materials appropriately. There's a really lovely example in here where some apprentices from BAE Systems turned an old jet engine, they upcycled it into a really cool looking coffee table. The next few activities all look at how climate change is affecting the industry and what the industry is doing to react to that. So the first looks at electric travel and the emergence of electric powered aircraft. We look at how we generate electricity. And one of my favorite activities is on a digital Rolls-Royce platform where you manage a £700 million research and development budget over a course of 30 years to investigate the effect that your management decisions would have on the amount of carbon dioxide released. The next activity is called Factory of the Future. And this is all about how we design a workplace to deal with those human factors in engineering. It looks specifically at environmental considerations such as lighting. And some really interesting mathematical models you can get your teeth into there with all about projection and casting shadows. The final activity in the booklet is called Working with Robots. And in this activity, it's quite a rudimentary one I've put together here, but it's all about building and designing robotic arms. We can start off quite simple with some card and some drawing pins to create a lifting device. But as with all the activities in the Future of Flight resource box, there's the opportunity to expand. You could definitely look at this using some servo motors and using your crumble to activate those motors. All of the booklets from the Future of Flight resource can be downloaded from the Royal Academy of Engineering's website.